Welcome to the True Elegance podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bumia Kikube, also known as Dr. B. Through solo episodes and guest sessions, we delve into the timeless qualities of style, grace, and sophistication, and uncover what makes you truly elegant. So, sit back, relax, and let's get started on this empowering journey of becoming truly elegant. Hello, Elegant Tribe. Welcome to another amazing episode of the True Elegance podcast, where we talk about not just looking beautiful, but radiating beauty, elegance, and confidence from the inside out. Today, I have with me Leila Kubesch, who is a green tea lover and speaks about everything youth and women empowerment and resilience and advocacy for women. And I'm so glad to have her on the show today. Welcome, Leila.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I am very excited.
Awesome. Can you give us a little background about yourself? I know you've won some awards like the Teacher of the Year and Toyota National Family Teacher of the Year. Are you still a teacher or was that somewhere in the past?
I think I will always be a teacher. About me, I grew up in North Africa in a city called the city of Carthage. It's known for the Roman buildings, really close to the Mediterranean. My mother, who was a cook at the time, was working as a cook in the US Embassy, and she met an American. And then we came to the US. I did not expect to come to the US, so I was unprepared to with the language and the culture, because the language that we speak, we have our own dialects, and then at school we learn Arabic, and we also have to know French. So I felt like I'm already busy knowing all these languages. I did not expect to come here. I came at the age of 17 and able to speak.
Wow, that's amazing. So you speak like 3-4 languages now?
More, because eventually I was always mistaken for a Latina. People
Oh,
come to me
interesting.
and say, Leila, I want to practice Spanish with you. I don't know it. I'm like, you're very funny. I'm like, you should become a comedian. Like, really, I don't know it.
Wow.
So eventually I learned Spanish, went to Mexico and Guatemala. And I thought, might as well learn about my people.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. I love it. So here we are. How did the teacher journey come about?
I became a teacher because when I came unable to speak English, my teachers, I attended Shawnee Mission High School in Kansas. I could tell their kindness, their care, and compassion in ways I have never known.
Wow.
They were so kind to me, and I wanted to be like them. In a way, I wanted to make them proud of me, but I did not think it would ever be possible for me to do that. My background as a student in my own country, my teachers were very unkind. They were very creative with the punishment. When I was in 6th grade, I forgot and I had a piece of gum in my mouth after recess. And my math teacher put the palm of his hand under my chin. And I was mortified. I spit it in his hand and he put it all over my hair.
Oh my goodness.
That was the last time I ever chewed gum.
Wow.
In 8th grade, I packed my bag few seconds before the bell rang, and my teacher made me stand on one leg for 1 hour for the next bell.
Wow.
We don't have punishments like consequences written. It depends on whatever the teacher wants you to do, whatever creativity. And so when I came to the US, I was apprehensive, and I blew my mind how kind they were. And that's the reason why I pursued education.
Wow. Wow. What a transformative story and experience. I can relate to some of that because I'm originally from Nigeria. And there, consequences and punishments for whenever you make a mistake or do something wrong is always there. I think there might be a balance to it, though. Sometimes you don't want to leave kids without consequences, but I think some too can be so extreme, like, that gum all over your hair experience sounds quite extreme.
Getting slapped across the face, getting hit with a ruler on your hand, which is so embarrassing in front of your peers.
Wow.
And I really found that because of school, there was safety in the classroom, that's what I worked to give my students.
Wow.
Anybody can have consequences, anybody can punish, but to show somebody compassion in ways that I have never experienced, it completely changed me.
Wow.
And I found that's the language that spoke to me. When I went to Japan as a teacher ambassador, I did not expect the people to be kind to me. So when I came back, I felt like the whole world needed to know how kind the Japanese people were. And actually, when I was in Japan, there was this elderly guy who walked for a long time. And he heard about a teacher from America in Ota Prefecture in this community. And he gave me a bag of rice, which I've never seen, like seeds. He gave me candy. And he gave me all of these things. We could not communicate. And he said, omiyage for your students. It's just like a souvenir for your students. When I came to the US, back to my students, it was my first year as a teacher. And I was giving the candy to my students, and two boys in the 8th grade bragged about the bombing of Hiroshima from the US on Japan. I was so upset.
Wow.
And I stood there for a moment. I said, should I punish these students? And I remembered how I was punished in my classroom and how I hated it.
Wow.
And I remember the kindness of my students is, no, I'm going to respond by kindness. And I brought books the next day, children picture books about the bombing of Hiroshima. And my students were so overcome, like, wow, did this really happen? This is awful. And then a week later, I brought them books about what happened to the Japanese in the United States after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, how we, as a country, punished them, how we put them in camps, how we separated them from their families, how we sent them to fight for the US, and they had this mistreatment. And they were so moved. They said, we want to do something. And I said, what do you want to do? And they said, we want to turn the school courtyard into a Japanese Zen garden to honor all the Japanese Americans who suffered the injustice.
Wow.
And then a year later, the student said, well, the garden is great, but nobody gets to see it. We want to create something else. Like, what if we did a quilt? I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about quilting. But I couldn't say no to them because I remember my teachers, when I couldn't even speak English, and they always smiled and said yes. Wow. And I smiled and said yes. And they created this quilt that was 19 feet by 41 feet, the largest historical quilt. Wow. And they picked 1941 for the year 1941 when Pearl Harbor was bombed.
Wow.
And they made the entire quilt from clothes worn by Japanese Americans who fought for the United States. So they had to send many letters all over the United States. And people sent them everything they had. Wow. And so you see, it was that kindness that you bring that back in your mind. And it gives this energy and positivity to the students and the classroom. And it transformed them. When they told me about the quilt, 19 by 41 feet, I didn't know what feet was. I only understood the metrics. So at the time, I didn't know how big that was. Yeah. Huge. It weighed 350 pounds.
Wow. That
And
is
that
heavy.
quilt, it is heavy. And that quilt traveled all over the United States. It
Wow.
went to so many museums, and all of it was done by eighth graders to see that kids can do amazing.
Uh-huh.
I was in one of the poorest schools. I worked with the poorest children. It didn't matter that we didn't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
We knew they were safe and they wanted to do something great. I believed in them
Wow.
and they wanted to rise to the challenge.
Wow. That is so amazing and awesome and inspiring all together. And I can feel the passion as you're sharing the story, and what a way to impact the kids, you know. And right now, I'm not surprised that you won the Teacher of the Year award, because being a teacher and training kids, it's not necessarily just about the books and the educational piece, but the impact and the life lessons that they're being taught about kindness, about collaboration, about even using whatever little thing they have to be successful in life. So kudos to you, and thank you for all that amazing, awesome work you're doing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So, you mentioned what is true elegance to me.
Yeah.
And, I grew up with hardly anything. I remember I had, used clothes, and I grew up with shoes. We have two sizes. I know only two sizes of shoes growing up. The super extra large shoes that your feet can grow into, or the super when they get snug when your feet outgrow them. And we'd put cotton balls in the back of your shoe because that's where it would bleed. And you put in talcum powder so you feel like, oh, I can tolerate this walk. So I didn't grow up with anything. To me, I didn't, and I was taught in high need communities, so fashion wasn't my thing.
Mm.
But to me, what is this elegance is about service.
Wow.
I learned this my first year of teaching. And one day I had somebody called me, and person knew how to pronounce my name, which is very unusual where I was in Indiana. Say people Lila, Lilia, Laila. And this person said Leila. Like, what? Maybe I know this person, but I couldn't think of where I met this person. It was a phone call during my lunch. And by the time we finished that conversation, I had agreed to everything she asked me to do, to volunteer. But on the day I went, I learned what it was. It was volunteering for Habitat for Humanity. And I said, oh no, I don't know how to do anything. So I went in and I thought, how can I get out of doing this? So when they asked me, says, what would you like to do? I said, electricity, because I was hoping that they would send me home.
Okay.
And they said, okay. I'm like, no, I don't know anything about electricity. I can turn on the switch and it turns on. And they said, that's fine. I'm like, really? You can teach me? So I stayed and I learned a lot about electricity. And so we built this home and I did all the electrical work, of course, with the help of a team.
Wow.
And during that experience, that volunteering, I learned so much about the community. I learned about the people. And I found that by volunteering, of course, not only you don't get fired, but you can make mistakes and learn from them.
Yes.
And you make friends and you learn so much about the community. And so ever since, I saw service as such an important aspect of life, especially for me, where sometimes people judged me because my English, I had an accent, or maybe they insisted that I had to be somewhere else, Hispanic, or maybe because I was African, I had people ask me if I lived in trees.
I know that
I was
happens, right?
African. I didn't say I was Tarzan. And
Tarzan
so,
the caveman, right?
yeah. So I learned by volunteering that it's a place of safety. You learn so much and you find people who are like-minded and you learn about many things.
Right.
That's the reason why I volunteer after school to do this big project with
Wow.
students. Every year, the project are as unique as the students who walk in my classroom. And through the connection, through the community, I learned to take risks in a way I have never known to do that, because I would ask, I would make the ask, hey, my students are working on the project. My students created a TV talk show. Would you be willing to come as a guest speaker? And so I saw this power of connecting with people. And I think elegance is about acceptance. You know, it doesn't do me any good to be wearing the most expensive dress or the prettiest dress if I don't feel I belong or accepted or I'm being judged. And so it doesn't matter. I can be sitting on the floor, having pizza on the floor in a house that hasn't been finished, or in a school that's a disaster, with my students, and sharing a meal or sharing something, in a way celebrating our collaboration, our acceptance. And I found whenever we volunteer that we can bring value far above our ability to speak English perfectly. That suddenly all that judgment goes away, you know, of, you know, sometimes people think, you know, or if you're somewhere else and have an accent and maybe not speaking English well, that somehow we don't have a lot of intellect, we're not cultured, we're not smart. And, you know, just being the teacher of the year, and I know that I'm the 2022 National Teacher Hall of Fame, those, I'm still the same person that, you know, was judged harshly in the past. And at the end of the day, you know, I still have to clean the cat box. You know, I still have to, if I don't feed my cat on time, I get bitten. You know, I'm going to be corrected.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like it's the awards that define us. It's what value that we bring and the connections and our knowledge and our culture that really does.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But it's also not a bad thing to be recognized for all the amazing things you've done.
No, it's not. And actually, for a long time, I did not want to accept awards, because every time I feel like, no, my English is not good enough, or no, maybe I didn't do enough. And then I thought, you know, I will accept, because I want people to see that an educator who taught for 25 years, that we can have passion towards the end of our career as much as we had it our first year. And also to show that age does not define us, that we are
Exactly.
still creative. A lot of time, teachers, when we taught for many years, we start, people call us veteran teacher. Why am I a veteran? I never served this country. That I don't
You're not a
deserve,
veteran.
you know, I don't deserve that title. And if you're trying to say it's something that relates with the military, why does it have to be a battle to convince people that we work
Wow.
hard in the classroom?
Wow.
And so I thought, okay, actually, if I'm going to do this, I want to have an advocacy. I want to advocate for all the teachers, for all the teachers who taught for a long time, for all the teachers who work in high need communities. We don't have funding. We're always don't have this budget for anything. And so fine, I will accept with gratitude and humility, but then I want to speak on behalf of these educators that we work hard,
Yes.
and stop calling us veterans.
Stop calling you veterans. So it helps you to be able to advocate for yourself and for others. I love that. I love that.
I
Yeah.
found that when we advocate for someone else, we have a lot more power.
Right.
I think the world can use a lot more compassion and a lot less judgment.
Definitely. Definitely. Wow, I like so many values you've talked about today, you know, love, compassion, service, acceptance. Those are all, you know, positive values that each and every one of us should embrace as women, men, adults, youth, and in our communities as we thrive every day. Thanks for sharing those. And so with you doing all this and pouring out to your students and the community, how do you take care of yourself? What is self-care for you?
It's a great question. I try to bring joy in everything I do. Like, I don't want to do a service because I feel like I have to, but everything I do, how can I make it fun for myself? Because let's say I'm volunteering to help elderly. I don't want to go there, make them feel like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to leave. Or we want to bring joy. And when we're
Right.
happy, we radiate joy.
Mm-hmm.
So in my classroom, like when students staying after school, I say, you can bring music, but if it's got rap, it's got cuss words, use a headphone. And so, how can we add joy to our lives? I'm doing the dishes. I'll turn on my kitchen into a dance floor. I will
Lovely.
listen to music. I will dance. I will ask my husband, say, hey, I'm going to teach a dance to my students. Let me see how this works. But also making sure that you take classes for yourself,
Okay.
something you are very passionate about. Try something you have never done. Every year, I try something I've never done before.
Wow.
So next week, I'm going to go to Chicago, and I'm so excited because I am going to study at Second City Improv because I want to do as a storyteller. I want to make it fun. I want
Wow.
to have this act and I want to do this different, like when I did a storytelling on Africa. I
Oh,
actually brewed tea, show them how to make tea with
okay.
mint and pine teas, and I served it to my guests, to the audience.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Um, Make it fun for yourself and bring joy. I really believe that we all feel stress, but we all get stressed. But how we respond to it
Mm-hmm.
is really, when we are stressed and we're upset, your body's gonna, and I know this because I became certified in yoga,
Okay.
your body will dump all this cortisol. So, and the way you can overcome that is you can even smile for 5 minutes. Your body does not know, and your body like, oh, you're smiling, things must be
Yeah.
great. Um, don't ever cross your arms. I tell this to my students, like, what? Don't eat and stop looking at the floor. You know where it is. Lift your head up and look around you. And I noticed that they bring their shoulders down, say shoulders
Uh-huh.
down from your ears, look up, smile, pause, greet somebody, say hi to somebody, take a chance and meet somebody you don't know,
Uh-huh.
smile at a stranger, make tea. And I said I love green tea.
Yes, we need to talk about your love for tea.
When I was in Japan, I really missed soft drink, and I'm just such a coffee snob. Like I drink a lot of coffee.
Wow.
And my host father would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I had the jet lag, but he did not know that. He thought people in the US wake up at 4. And he would make me this cup of coffee. It was the worst cup I've ever had.
Wow.
Awful. But I knew he made it with so much love, so I drank it and I told myself, this is the last time I will see a Japanese man making me anything. So I'm going to enjoy it. Then I got introduced to tea. Now that,
Mm.
they don't put sugar in tea. That's fine. I will drink it. And I started drinking it and drinking it. And I didn't realize your taste buds after so many days will
Right.
become accustomed to that.
Exactly.
When I came to the US and I tried to have Sprite, I almost gagged. It was the worst thing I've had. And ever since, I cannot drink soft drink.
Wow.
And I was teaching one year at the elementary school, and I was drinking green tea, and I took the kids outside. It was a very cold day. And the kids came back and they were shivering. And I said, would you like some green tea? And all of them said, yes. They shook their head like, I know they're going to like it. I don't have sugar. So I made them green tea. And I asked them, said, you can sit on the floor on the carpet, just like in Japan.
Oh,
and take it slowly. And they loved it. They relaxed.
wow.
They stopped screaming at each other, hitting each other, and they loved it. And every day they asked for green tea.
Green
So I would
tea.
ask my friends in Japan to please send me more green tea.
Wow.
At the end of the year, they gave me lotion, and I put it in the desk, like a teacher celebration. I didn't think anything of it. When I went home, that lotion said green lotion with green tea, and
Wow.
this was given to me by first graders,
Wow.
kids in first grade. And I was so overcome, like, oh my God, this is the coolest and the best gift. So I realized that all over the world, people
Mhm.
drink tea because it's the cheapest thing. Some people would we have bubble tea, green tea,
Oh, okay.
Moroccan tea, mint tea. And so now I got very involved into teas. I took a lot of classes on tea, and I serve,
Wow.
everywhere I go as part of, I teach them how to steep tea. And
Uh-huh.
I have found research that tea and tea bag is not good for you, because it's like if you drink so much, it's equivalent of, it's toxic, first of all. Like if it's in a
Wow.
plastic bag, it's equivalent to drinking a credit card worth of plastic.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so you can cut the bag, you can take the loose tea, and you can put it in a like there's a basket. So I have some green tea with me right
You have the
now,
green
and this is
tea.
what it looks like. So you have this little
Oh,
basket,
yeah. Yeah,
and
I've
you put,
seen that before.
and even when I teach my ESL students, there's a lesson in English called teaching how to write a sequence, like first, second, third, fourth. So I
Okay.
brought them tea to teach them the steps. I said, first you heat the water, second you put the tea, third you steep. And they say, what's steep? I said, steep is when you let it wait hot water for, and the tea leaves would get bigger. So
Uh,
they learn vocabulary, and then they make the steps, they write their paragraph, and then they drink the tea they made.
wow. That is beautiful. Wow. Thank you for sharing so much radiance and joy and true elegance with us today. I really do appreciate it. And I'm sure the audience too would have found two or three things to hold on to. It's been amazing having you on the show today. Do you have any last wisdom you want to share with us before we wrap it up? And then we'll talk about how we can stay connected with you.
Definitely, I would say keep your mind positive. Sometimes we cannot help it but think about something negative, something in the past, and we dwell on it. Just find a way to make a list. I tell my students, create a list of things that bring you happiness, because when we are stressed, we forget those things.
Mhm.
Simple things, a quick walk, or call somebody who will uplift you,
Yes.
or journal, or make a cup of tea, listen to your favorite music.
Yes.
Also cleaning space brings so
Mhm.
much joy, not having your favorite area, your desk, to be cluttered.
Cluttered, yeah.
Buy
Getting rid of
yourself some
clutter.
fresh flowers, make a
Oh,
date with yourself.
yes.
um,
Yes.
I went to the Fringe Festival last 2 weeks ago. I couldn't find anybody to go with me. And I thought, I read this book called The Artist's Way by Julia.
Okay.
It's a great book that changed my life. The
Wow.
Artist's Way and she says, make a date with yourself, like go
Okay.
each week, do something by yourself to boost your creativity. And I went to the Fringe Festival. It comes every year, but I went for the first time. I was so inspired. I
Oh,
loved it so much that I signed up the same week to go to Chicago and study at Second City. And
wow.
next year, I will be a performer. I will
That
submit
is
to perform. And that was just,
beautiful.
even though my husband didn't want to go, none of my friends wanted to. And you know what? It's okay. Go by yourself, have a great time.
Yes,
Keep
yes.
yourself creative and
Mhm.
make a list of things that will bring you joy.
Wow, I love it. Your joy and happiness list.
Yes.
Music does it for me. I'm a tea lover too, but sometimes I'm lazy with the dipping, so I'm gonna go find me
Yeah.
one of those to keep at my desk.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And
Thank
what's the
you.
best way to stay in touch with you?
Best way, you can also have a not-for-profit organization called Parents Two Partners. It's number two.
Okay.
So you can, if you want to be a volunteer, it's everything I do is a volunteer. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm volunteering right now to mentors, teachers from and students from around the world. And my goal is to help them serve in their own community. All of it is virtual. So if somebody wants to connect with them, or if he needs help, or if you want to apply for a grant or need
Mm-hmm.
anything, please go there. All of the work comes labor of love and joy. We do not ask for donations. There's no money to give, so don't worry. Because the people that I help are proud people, and I needed to make sure we have the same value as the people we serve.
Right.
If they don't accept charity and donations, my organization does not accept anything. But
Okay.
we do
Got it.
accept service. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
help or be helped, either way, it's there.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. We'll be sure to include that in our show notes. Thank you
Okay.
so much for your
Thank you.
time today. It's been amazing. And thank you for all you do for those beautiful children, because it definitely has a lifelong impact beyond what you can see now. Thank you, Leila.
Thank
Take,
you,
take
and have an
care.
amazing day and week, and wish you all the best, you and your audience. And thank you again for including me.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Be sure to subscribe so you'll be the first to be notified of every new episode. Leave a review and share this podcast with that elegant lady in your life. This is a space where we can come together to empower and inspire each other and live feeling elevated and enlightened. See you in the next episode.